Hello, welcome back. You're now about to begin Module 3, Video 1 on how to calculate protein. So by now you've gotten a general overview of the program. You've learned how to count carbohydrates, the two different methods, whether it's easy or precise. And now we're going to learn how to calculate protein so you can get started with this way of eating. We strive to make things very simple, and the name of our company is A Simple Low Carb Life for a reason. It doesn't need to be hard. So hopefully you're seeing through this that once you learn the rules of this way of eating, it's really very simple. So you've learned how to count carbs, which is the most important number to have right. If you're exceeding the amount of carbs that will keep you in ketosis, you will no longer be in the fat burning state, and you will be basically having this diet convert to a very poor version of a low carb, of a low calorie diet. So really count those carbs by the net carbs and count them very specifically. It's vital to be being in and remaining in the fat burning state. But just as important, but in a different way, is the amount of protein that we eat. Too little or too much can really stall our weight as well. So you might be thinking, exactly how much protein should I be eating? Now, we've all heard a lot of negative things about eating too much protein. We've heard people write stories about eating too little protein and how that can damage us. Just how much should I eat? And again, let me reiterate that the design of this way of eating is a moderate protein diet, not a high protein diet. High protein diets are not healthy. The high amount of protein that is considered in the high range can also make our blood sugar go up, and it can act the same in that sense as eating a bunch of carbohydrates. So this is a moderate protein approach. The amount of grams of protein that you will be suggested to eat per day simply depends on your current lean weight. Whenever anybody loses weight, no matter what method you use, whether it's Jenny Craig, Nutrisystem, calorie counting of some other version, a low fat, high carb version, or a low carb, high fat version, during weight loss, you will always be wasting muscle as you lose weight. It is very crucial to keep the right amount of protein intake so that your body will build new muscle and so that the net result will be no muscle loss. So the recommended protein amount needs to remain fairly constant in this moderate range. This is an extremely important concept to get down. If you do not replace the muscle loss with additional protein intake, your resting metabolic rate will go down. Now, what that means is the resting metabolic rate is how many calories your body burns at complete rest, not even counting digesting, just complete rest. That level is determined by how much muscle you have. So if you burn muscle, basically waste muscle, through a poorly constructed diet, then you will burn even less calories than you started out burning at your previous weight. And now you will have to eat even less to have a deficit so that you will actually lose weight. That is a major buzzkill for any kind of a diet. So we want to avoid that at all costs. Frankly, most calorie reduction diets are not constructed to account for this. And so people may lose weight, but they lose a heck of a lot of muscle mass, and their resting metabolic rate goes way down. And so they are then in a position that they can only eat very few calories without gaining weight. So we want to avoid that. Again, your amount of muscle mass determines your metabolic rate, pure and simple. If you lose muscle, you now burn fewer calories at rest. If your muscle mass increases, you burn more calories at rest. Remember this concept. It's also important not to eat too much protein. And I alluded to this in previous videos and just a few moments ago, but if we eat more protein than the body can handle, the way that it deals with that excessive amount is to just turn it into sugar so that it can be used. It's turned into glucose by a process called gluconeogenesis. So we don't want to eat high protein. So what exactly is the moderate protein range? Well, To be very precise, that would be 0.6 to 0.9 grams per pound of lean weight, and that amount you would eat per day. Now, again, there's a big, lengthy, kind of calculation that we can use if you want to be precise. If you're a mathematician or an engineer or someone that wants to be extremely precise, you can calculate that by calculating your percent body fat with a body composition analyzer that you can buy for actually on our online store. We have a few of the inexpensive models of these that are listed that you can certainly purchase if you'd like. You subtract the percent body fat from your total weight to find your lean weight. So we're subtracting fat. Then you multiply that amount by 0.6 to get the low end of the range and 0.9 to get the high end of the range, and you need to be eating that many grams a day. Well, that's a kind of a tedious thing to do, and we're going to show you an easy method that really averages this amount so that you don't need to worry about figuring out your percent body fat, buying a special machine, or calculating anything. So here's the easy method. If you weigh up to 200 pounds or 91 kilograms, if you live in an area where you use the metric system, then you simply eat 100 grams of protein a day on average. If you weigh in the 200 to 300 pound range, or 91 to 136 kilograms, then you average 120 grams of protein a day. If you're in the 300 to 400 pound or 136 to 182 kilograms of weight range, you average 140 grams of protein a day. Now remember, you're dividing that into at least 3 meals and up to dividing that into 5 or 6 if you're having snacks in between. So if you weigh over 400 pounds and under 500 pounds, you can see this pattern. You just add 20 more grams of protein for every 100 pounds more that you weigh, or 45 kilograms. If you exercise vigorously, and I mean getting your heart rate up and sweating and just really significant exercise, more than 30 minutes a day, you're going to need more protein to help repair your muscles and to recover, essentially, from that significant exercise. So it's certainly appropriate, no matter what you weigh and how many grams you're averaging as your daily protein amount, to add another 15 or 20 grams of protein a day to help out with that. It will also help you to not be hungry when you're exercising. And we'll go over that more in detail when we talk about exercise a little bit more. Now, again, we have approved lists that you can pick from, and believe me, the approved protein list is a pretty generous list. And so I didn't want to bore you by listing all of these items in the video format. That is in the guidebook, and you will be able to see that. But it's a pretty generous list. So how do you prepare the proteins? Remember, deep frying is a lot of fat, too much fat really for one sitting. So no deep frying, and most of the time when you buy something that's deep fried, or if you're thinking about deep frying something, it's coated in flour. And flour is extremely high in carbs, which is why it's absent, one of the reasons that it's absent from our food list. 1 cup of flour has over 120 grams of net carbohydrates in it. So, flour is off the list. You don't want any breading, no gravies or sauces on the proteins, because essentially gravies or sauces that are made the conventional way are thickened with wheat flour or cornstarch. Now, we're going to instruct you later on how you can make low-carb versions of gravies and sauces. And you certainly can use those, but you are going to be hard-pressed to find a restaurant that serves any sauce or gravy or breading that is not conventional wheat or thickened with cornstarch. If you find one, I would love to know what it is, because I'd love to eat there. Okay, are all proteins the same amount of grams per ounce? Unfortunately, they're not. However, as a general rule, if you're eating animal protein or meat, essentially, on average, 1 ounce of animal protein equals 7 grams of protein. So you can convert that easily from ounces to grams so that you can know what you're eating. For example, if you have a serving of a 3-ounce piece of chicken, that would average about 21 grams of protein. 7 times 3 is 21. So remember, this is an estimate and not exact, but at least you'll be in the ballpark, and it's especially helpful to use this when you're dining out. Another important fact to remember is always combine carbohydrates with protein. You want to never eat a naked carbohydrate, and by naked carbohydrate we mean just a carb by itself, and that even means celery or lettuce, not without some sort of protein. Because what will happen is carbohydrates are absorbed very quickly in the stomach and begin absorption in the mouth even. So your blood sugar can go up. If you combine that with a protein is absorbed much more slowly. So the net result of that is the carbohydrate that you're eating will be processed more slowly and will be unlikely to cause a significant rise in your blood sugar, which will cause the pancreas to crank out too much insulin. Again, remember, insulin always, 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 when it is overproduced, equals fat storage, locks down the fat, and it cannot be burned, even if you're in ketosis. So we don't want to do that. All right, see how simple figuring out your protein is? You simply select the protein from the list depending on what you weigh, divide it up into however many meals you're going to have a day, at least 3 of them. Again, remember, don't have more than 35 grams of protein at any one sitting, or that's usually too much and the body will turn it into sugar. All right, you've just completed Module 3, Video 1. We're going to move on to Video 2. Take a little break in between, and we'll see you in the next one.